In the 15th century, Europe was engulfed in one of its longest and most devastating wars, known as the Hundred Years' War between France and England. The French kingdom was collapsing, its lands were occupied, its armies were broken, and its people had lost hope. It seemed that France would never rise again. But in the midst of this despair, a savior appeared, someone no one could have ever imagined. She was not a knight, not a prince, not even a soldier, but a young peasant girl from a small village. Her name was Joan of Arc. Joan was born in 1412 in the tiny village of Domremy, France. Her family was poor, living a simple life of farming. From childhood, Joan was deeply religious and devoted to prayer. At the age of 13, she began to experience what she described as visions and voices from God. According to her, saints appeared to her and commanded her to save France and help the rightful heir, Charles VII, take the throne. At first, no one believed her. How could a mere village girl lead an army and decide the fate of a kingdom? But Joan's faith and determination were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. She convinced local leaders to support her, and eventually, she was granted an audience with Charles himself. In that meeting, she declared boldly that God had sent her to rescue France. Amazingly, Charles gave her a chance. Joan, dressed in armor, carrying her banner of the cross, joined the French army. Though she had no military training, her courage and unwavering belief inspired the soldiers more than any weapon could. They began to see themselves not just as soldiers of a king, but as warriors of God. Under her guidance, morale soared. In 1429, Joan led the French army to one of its greatest victories, lifting the siege of Orleans. This was a turning point in the war. The French, once hopeless, now believed they could win. Soon after, Charles VII was crowned King of France in Reims, fulfilling Joan's divine mission. She stood by his side, a teenage girl who had changed the destiny of a nation. But her triumph was short-lived. In 1430, during another battle, Joan was captured by the Burgundians, allies of the English. She was sold to her enemies and brought to trial. The court, influenced by politics and hatred, accused her of witchcraft, heresy, and rebellion against the church. Joan, only 19 years old, stood alone against her accusers. She defended her faith with strength, declaring that everything she had done was in obedience to God. Yet the verdict had already been decided. The English and their allies wanted her silenced forever. On May 30th, 1431, Joan of Arc was taken to the marketplace of Rouen. Before a massive crowd, she was tied to a wooden stake and set on fire. As the flames rose around her, she prayed, calling out to Jesus until her voice was lost in the smoke. She died with unshakable faith, becoming a martyr at the age of 19. Though her enemies believed they had destroyed her, Joan's spirit lived on. Her death only strengthened the resolve of the French, who soon drove the English out and reclaimed their kingdom. Years later, the Church admitted that her trial had been unjust, and in 1920, Joan of Arc was canonized as a saint. Today, Joan of Arc is remembered as the Maid of Orleans, a national heroine of France, and one of history's most extraordinary figures. Her story is proof that courage, faith, and determination can rise even from the humblest beginnings and change the course of history forever.